5 creepy facts about Vlad the Impaler. He impaled his enemies with chilling precision, inspired terror across kingdoms. Vlad the Impaler's methods were gruesome, yet his story teaches the terrifying power of fear in politics and legend. The lands of Wallachia, dense forests and shadowed valleys, trembled under the reign of a prince whose name alone could silence a crowd. Vlad III, son of Vlad Dracula, emerged into the turbulence of 15th century Eastern Europe, a region caught between the ambitions of the Ottoman Empire and the precarious alliances of Christian principalities. Born in 1431, his youth was marked by captivity and political machinations, a formative crucible where fear and strategy intertwined. Even as a boy, the seeds of cunning and ruthlessness were sown, not from sadism alone, but from survival in a world where betrayal was constant and mercy often fatal. Vlad's reputation for impalement was not mere legend. Chronicles of the era, from the Saxon merchants of Kronstadt to the Ottoman scribes, recount scenes so vivid and horrifying that they became shorthand for terror itself. Victims displayed along the roads of Wallachia, impaled upright on sharp stakes, were not only punishment but performance. Each stake a grim message. Defiance would be met with spectacle, pain, and death. Imagine the psychological weight of entering a city and seeing a forest of bodies, the air heavy with fear and the scent of mortality. This was governance through horror, a precursor to the notion that fear wielded effectively can enforce loyalty more than love or reason. But Vlad's cruelty was selective, deliberate. He spared towns that surrendered quickly, punished traitors with merciless ingenuity, yet offered refuge to the loyal and courageous. The principle was stark. Obedience secured life, defiance invited death. Historians like Kurt W. Treptow argue that these acts, horrifying as they were, reinforced stability in a fractured land where external threats and internal treachery were omnipresent. In this light, his impalements were a tool, a dark instrument of political theater. Each act calculated, each display intended to imprint fear into memory, ensuring that stories of Vlad's justice traveled faster than any army could march. Vlad's cruelty extended beyond impalement to punishments of intricate and terrifying design. There were accounts of men forced to witness the deaths of loved ones, of envoys executed for minor slights, and of entire villages decimated to prevent rebellion. Yet beneath the horror lies a complex figure. He was also a prince concerned with law and order, a protector of his people against invading forces, and a man shaped by trauma and survival instincts. Radu Florescu, in his examination of Vlad, emphasizes this duality. The same hand that struck terror could defend the innocent and strengthen the fragile state. In understanding Vlad, one sees that terror can serve as both weapon and shield, a duality as old as leadership itself. Vlad's fearsome reputation transcended Wallachia, reaching the courts of Europe. Letters from merchants, princes, and envoys depict him as a figure of fascination and dread. Tales of impalements and gruesome justice spread like wildfire, blending truth with rumor, shaping the mythos that would eventually birth the vampire legend of Dracula. Here lies the intersection of history and imagination. The reality of his cruelty inspired fiction, showing how human psychology responds to terror in narrative, how stories of violence and morality intertwine to capture collective imagination. Today, we recognize this pattern in modern media, in political spectacle, in the ways fear is still wielded to control perception. Even more disturbing is Vlad's moral logic. He operated within a framework that made sense in his era, a brutal calculus where the survival of a principality justified unspeakable acts. Yet, there is a reflection for us all. What does it mean to wield power responsibly? How do human beings reconcile fear, justice, and morality? Vlad's legacy forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that history's most effective leaders often straddle the line between protector and tyrant, between legend and horror. In the shadow of the stakes, one glimpses the fragility of human society and the enduring influence of fear. Finally, the human dimension of Vlad's story lies not only in the terror he inflicted, but in the way he lived with it. Captive as a youth, hardened by betrayal, isolated by his methods, he embodies the paradox of power. To inspire fear, one must endure loneliness, suspicion, and the moral burden of choices that leave no room for sentiment. His life invites reflection on courage, resilience, and the darker aspects of human nature. In understanding Vlad, we see not only the mechanics of terror, but the anatomy of leadership, the psychological architecture of legend, and the haunting consequences of absolute authority. Vlad the Impaler's tale is more than historical curiosity. It is a meditation on the forces that shape human behavior, the extremes of justice and cruelty, and the power of narrative to immortalize terror. When we walk through our own lives, confronted with authority, fear, and decision, we might glimpse the shadows of his lessons. That fear can command obedience, that cruelty can be rationalized, and that stories of horror can teach us as much about our morality as about our history. Reflecting upon Vlad's life, one is reminded that history is never merely a record of events. It is a mirror of human potential, both luminous and dark. The lessons we draw are not of imitation, but of discernment. Fear is a tool, power is a responsibility. And legend, as in the case of Vlad, emerges where human nature meets the extremes of circumstance. Pause, reflect, and consider. How do we confront the darkness within ourselves, and what stories will endure because of it? Dive deeper into history. Challenge the shadows of legend. Subscribe for more journeys into the lives that shape the world, where fear, brilliance, and humanity collide.